Spawnily is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Brookago, y'all.
What the deal be, everybody here in Brookago? What up? This is the Spawn on Me podcast. I'm your host, Kahlief Adams. What is going on? What is the deal? What is happening in your world, in your life? Yo, we got lots of stuff to talk about. We got lots of things to dig into. First of all, I got to thank everybody here in Brookago for coming through, everybody for coming and rocking with me here in the spot, in the new studio. We got it up and running. This is pretty dope. I am excited to be able to share all this stuff with you. We are doing some big things. We got a lot of stuff happening and a lot of things kind of coming through that we are all going to share with you here in the new studio. Going forward, 2021 is in hot action, if not only just within the Capitol building that we saw and had that conversation a little bit earlier before stream came through, but we have lots of stuff to dig into. First of all, I have to say we took a minute off. I had to figure out ways to build this bad boy out in my basement. I'll be doing a video a little bit later in the week, hopefully fairly soon, to be able to figure out ways to showcase some of the stuff that's in here. I think, it's a simple studio for now in some of the ways that I think about what we can do in this space. And I have to say, this is a thing that I have dreamed about for a very long time. I have worked really hard to try to figure out good ways that we are able to do this kind of work, trying to figure out ways that we can build this into a bigger and more beautiful space, a way that we can try to figure out how to make the transition from the audio version of a show into the visual version of a show here on Twitch and in other spaces much bigger and better and beautiful and fantastic. So I have to thank all of you at home first. This is not just an accomplishment for me. This is a lot of hard work and a lot of love that comes directly from all of you. This is not a thing that I would have expected to be able to do, 7 to 8 years into the show. Our 8-year anniversary is coming later on in the month. But I've been reflecting a lot and trying to figure out good ways to celebrate cool stuff like this. I'm rocking currently a shirt from our designer. If you watch this, shout out to my fam, Von Silver out in the world, who, if you're looking at the logo and the branding in the space, that was all him. We collaborated in doing all that stuff. When we did our rebrand, that was a huge part of doing all of that work. Also, I can do a show and it not sound like I'm in a tunnel anymore. That is fantastic. We moved everything from upstairs, downstairs into the basement. The panels that you see on the wall, the blues and the reds, are our team colors, so to speak. Those are sound panels that you see behind me, all in our brand colors. Really excited about that kind of stuff, especially the one with the black power fist. That's also a sound panel. Those kinds of things are small little touches that we have. There's some stuff on the ceiling that's in there too. You might have seen the initial first shot as well. That was in there. That is also a part of the new studio, a really dope piece of apparatus there that we're going to be able to do some cool things from a lot of different places. So again, this is a huge deal for me and for the show. This is a testament to hard work, and thank you to everybody in the chat who's giving me love right now. This is I am trying not to cry because it is very, very important to understand just how, this has been a really big moment for me. This has been a big moment for my family in a weird way. My wife giving me the basement to rock this out. Cam, thank you so much for the 5 subs. I appreciate you. I love you, fam. But this is going to be a thing where Brookago is going to grow for the next couple of years. And this is going to be a thing where we get to talk about real shit. We're going to talk about the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, because we definitely want to get into the conversation about the terrorists that wound up in front of the Capitol building and inside the Capitol building this week. Because of the timbre of the conversation, we were going to have a a brand announcement. I'm going to wait on that. I think I don't think that the temperature of the room right now fits that conversation. Of course, we want to be celebratory because of this part of the game, but I don't want to do that to our sponsors because I'm going to be talking a whole bunch of shit today, and I don't think it's necessarily good for them to have that part of the conversation right there right now. But it is a thing that we're going to talk about next week, especially because right now there isn't really a lot of gaming news to talk about that actually matters. Oh my goodness, the chat is wilding out right now. This is fantastic. So I'm going to hold off on that. John, I see you in the chat. We'll talk about that later. But I know we were supposed to launch that stuff tonight, but we'll figure that stuff out for next week. We'll move all those things together. The last part about all of this is, I want this place to be something that is going to be, a place of growth. One of the things that I have always tried to figure out has been, how do we bridge the gap between the gaming spaces that we usually see, while we also try to infuse those things with really interesting, smart conversations about the world that we live in and the places that we are rocking in, and the thoughts and ideas that stem from the most important part for me, which is a prism of blackness. We have done that for the past 4 years, for the past 7 years, going on 8. I think that the next layer of that is going to be, how do we expand this thing with our fam over at Fanbyte, with other folks in the sponsorship spaces, in all the places that we see us trying to do some good work. And I feel like a lot of that was absolutely evident today, especially because of the conversations we saw, not only in streamer spaces around what we saw happening in the Capitol today, but some of the things that we saw from the internet as a whole. So many different parts of those conversations, for sure. So if you are in the chat right now, and the chat again, is wilding right now. It is amazing how much love I'm getting in the chat right now. I'm going to address all of the things that you're saying towards the end of the show, probably in the post show, which is going to be a thing that we're going to do again. We started to do a post show before for the folks at Twitch, and I think we're going to reenact that, and we're going to continue to do that. Actually, we have to do that because I never feel like I'm able to interact with chat in the way that I really want to, because of the formula of the way a podcast, an audio version of a podcast goes. So I want to figure out ways to be able to do that kind of stuff. And thank you for everybody for saying the studio is looking good and looking fantastic. So, another thing that I have to say before we get into conversations about today, and the show is not going to be super long because there isn't a lot of gaming conversation to be had, but I have to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Logitech G. If you saw a couple of months ago, I put up a video, and I've been asking for a while now to say, again, this studio is going to get built. The new layer, the new Brookago 2.0, Spawn on Me 2.0 is going to be a thing in a real way. How do we make that happen? How do we do that? And they stepped up in a way that was unbelievable, in a way that was just astounding. They sent over 2 Herman Miller chairs, 2 Herman Miller desks. That's one that's right back behind me right now, right in there. A couple of Herman Miller monitor arms for my computer monitors and stuff like that. And it is infinitely awesome to have the Logitech G family be a part of this experience in this ride. They continue to bless me with good products, fantastic products, that literally just help all of this work. They continue to do that work and send us fantastic stuff that we get to use and operate with, in this space on a consistent basis. It is beautiful to see a company like that continue to work with us and to build with us and to continue to do that work. Also, we're going to talk about that. I just saw what happened in the chat. We got to talk about that for sure. So a huge thank you to them because they stepped up early and blessed us with a lot of dope stuff for us to build out this studio in a bigger way. This is version 1.0. Of course, there's some stuff in the background that's kind of sparse in some of the ways that you usually see, but we are I'm going to continue to figure out ways to make this look even better for you and figure out ways that we can build out the spaces to be more manageable and be better in those ways. So with all that said, today I have to give massive love to all of you in the chat. Thank you so much for the hype train. This is madness. Thank you so much for coming back. We had a couple of weeks off. I needed some time to rebuild, to revamp, to build out the studio. I think we built the studio out, my wife and I, in about 2 weeks. Getting the sound panels in when we get all that stuff in. There's a new monitor here that is ridiculous and monster that I'll show you in a video soon. And kind of getting some of those things together. We're still looking for a couple of partners to work with us on the tech side. We need a PC partner. We've been looking for a PC partner for a while to help us bolster this thing to make it really, really nuts. And also there's a whole other space in the other room that you have not seen yet that is going to be built out into a part of what I'm hoping to have as another streaming setup in that side. It'll be a streaming setup / entertainment setup. So we'll be able to do some cool stuff when the world reopens up, have more people over in this place to be able to do some live podcasts here, some streaming events here. We do Spawn for Good every year. So I think that will be a fantastic way to do that work there in that space too. So a lot of investment has gone into this. A lot of investment has gone into the thoughts behind why we want this thing to build in this way. And again, I have to thank all of you at home for helping fulfill this dream in a bigger way. It has always been a thing where I have hoped to build this space into something that has been different. I'm still trying to figure out what the best way is to build the vibe that we all have here in Brookago. We have a fucking awesome community here, full of beautiful, smart human beings that really care about the world. And I hope that I am a reflection of that every week in the work that we do here on the show. We have to talk about the world today. It is not a fun day in terms of the ways that we have seen conversations happen with a insurrection that has happened in our nation's capital this year, today, that has happened today. I have lots of thoughts. That is not true, Dr. Jones. You are beautiful. I believe this fully and 100%. There are lots of thoughts that are running through my mind right now. There are lots of thoughts that we're going to dig into in the next 30 to 45 minutes, hopefully. And the first one that I kind of want to dig into, one that really encapsulates a lot of the things that I'm thinking right now, is this.
Claire talked about that these people were so unafraid of the cops, who were sparsely distributed through our capital, which hasn't been breached since 1812. When it was burned. The reason they could easily and casually, with their cameras on, film themselves throwing things through the walls of our Capitol, our property, going inside the Capitol, sitting in Speaker Pelosi's office, casually take pictures of themselves, have that played on Fox News, they know that they are not in jeopardy. Because the cops are taking selfies with them, walking them down the steps to make sure they're not hurt, taking care with their bodies, not like they treated Freddie Gray's body. White Americans aren't afraid of the cops. White Americans are never afraid of the cops, even when they're committing insurrection, even when they're engaged in attempting to occupy our capital, to steal the votes of people who look like me. Because in their minds, they own this country, they own that capital, they own the cops work for them, and people like me have no damn right to try to elect a president. Because we don't get to pick the president. They get to pick the president. They own the president. They own the White House. They own this country. And so when you think you own it, you own the place, you ain't afraid of the police because the police are you, and the police reflect back to them. We're with you. You're good. We're not going to hurt you because you're not them. Guarantee you if that was a Black Lives Matter protest in D.C., there would already be people shackled, arrested, or dead. Shackled, arrested, en masse, or dead. Cunningham on here. She'll tell you how they treated her in Ferguson. Put Alicia Garza on here. She'll tell you how they treated her at every Black Lives Matter march. Get Patrisse Cullors on. They'll tell you. They'll tell you what it feels like to protest peacefully and unarmed and have how the police will treat you if you're black. That's it. They're not afraid of the cops because they know the cops are cool with it.
I love Joy Reid. Joy Reid is a person that I would love to get on Spawn on Me. The thing that resonated with me in all of its glory was the conversation and the statement that she shared that said, white people ain't afraid of the cops because they know that they will protect them. They know that they will get protection from the police. If they ain't truer words that ain't ever been said, those are those words right there in plain text out in the world to see. The conversations that I was having today on social media and seeing all these people boo-hoo and cry about, I didn't think that this was going to happen. And how did this become a thing? They have taken over the Capitol building. I sat there with my hands folded, steepled like a motherfucker, steepled here talking about, we told you exactly what this was going to be before Trump got elected. We told you this before and while he was running. If there is anyone who saw this happen today and is surprised, you are fucking blind. And you've put on wild blinders to all the things that have happened over the past 4 years. And prior to that, it is unreasonable. If you looked at the conversations that were happening in Black and brown and underrepresented and marginalized communities today, none of us were surprised. There was no surprise to be found. We all were like sending each other text messages. We like, yo, you ready to hear all the people get freaked out about the shit that we already told them was going to happen? I got so many text messages today, people being like, yo, Kai, thank you for talking about that stuff on Twitter. And I was like, well, it's not like we didn't know this was going to be a thing. We called this. We called this in a way that is on some like Back to the Future, I brought back the almanac kind of shit. I'm going to bet on the next World Series because I know who's going to win kind of shit. This ain't new. This ain't profound. This isn't some new stuff that we had some expectation that came out of some weird left field thing that people were like, oh, well, you know, what happens when Trump is going to leave the office? What are the white people going to do? We knew they were going to throw a fit. We knew that they were going to throw a temper tantrum. We knew this was going to happen. The thing that makes me mad is that my taxpayer dollars are not doing what the fuck they supposed to do. Those cats were supposed to get hemmed up, and they didn't. No one got hemmed up. Cats were walking out of the Capitol holding the fucking lectern for the Speaker of the House. Holding that shit. Like, walking out the Capitol with that joint. How do you expect people to feel when they have seen people who look like them get their asses beat, even if you shrink down time into this small, small space of when Black Lives Matter began? Even if you use that as the beginning point for these conversations, we've been getting our asses beat for all that time, and then you see hundreds of thousands of people bum rush the Capitol building, and nothing happened. I saw a Black Capitol worker retreat from a whole bunch of folks who are terrorists. Let's please. Let's please just remember, these folks are terrorists. These are not protesters. These are not, patriots. These are not people who are trying to, share some profound message of, we are trying to figure out, what happened with the vote. You motherfuckers lost. That's what happened. You took a L to the forehead like this. You took an L. Black and brown people have been taking L's for 400 plus years here. And the energy that you have displayed because your racist Cheeto ass president lost is fucking despicable. There's no other way to explain it. There's no other ways to wrap your brain around it in some other milquetoast bullshitty way that tries to make it seem like, oh, well, maybe they didn't get all the votes that they got. I am infinitely happy that we have the Senate. You know how happy I am we got the Senate? I was sitting in the house when these people were fucking jumping through windows today early in the afternoon, and mad people were like, "Ha, you scared?" I was like, I should just be playing Team America shit right now. America, fuck yeah. Like, this is America, fuck yeah shit. This is what's happening right now. Because white supremacists, racists, and people who are fucking stupid have decided that they can't deal with the results of an election for a person who probably and more than likely and absolutely didn't deserve to win in the first place because he was aided by Russia. DAFUQ. The fuck are you talking about right now? Has nothing to do. This is madness in the respect that we are letting this be a thing on a consistent basis. This is the thing that drives people like us into the streets, because it is a thing where you see people get to do the wildest stuff and there are literally no repercussions. The only repercussions we saw happen today was, God forbid, a woman got shot and killed. There was a woman who died today in the Capitol. Somebody tweeted at me a video of that person. I have a video that I wanted to share that stops right before them showing that part. So again, trigger warnings, all those kinds of things. I've set it up so that you will not see that part. I'm telling you all that now before I run that piece of the video. We're not going to run that part because it was in there and it's graphic. And it's, again, definitely probably against TOS. All those things. I have made sure that we do not show that part. But when people tweet at me, yo, Ka, yo, because I was like, yo, this woman is good. I tweeted this out, and remember this. Today is today's the 5th of January 2021. And I've already seen it happen, so I already know I won. Is the conversation about that woman dying. Oh, I'm sorry, the 6th. Thank you in the chat. It's not the 5th. That woman is going to become a martyr for the ultra right, for the Proud Boys, for the Conservative Party, for all the people who are here playing G.I. Joe on some bullshit with fucking militia gear and guns. That person is already going to become a martyr. I'm already seeing it in the chat. People are already talking about how she died for the revolution. The fuck revolution are you revolting against? We already won. Democracy worked. Finally, democracy worked. And the wild thing is that we're now going to see all of these conversations that are going to wind up coming into the space that have nothing to do with the actual issue, which is that woman didn't deserve to die, because no one deserves to die, but she did that to herself. There's no reason why your dumb ass should be in a building storming the Capitol and then expecting the police, law enforcement to treat you different. I was actually surprised at the fact that someone got hurt. I am sad that woman does not get to go home today. But also, I am in a state of Whelpington. I couldn't do that. My brown face in this place could not jump through a Capitol building window and expect to leave alive. There is no way in hell, in this planet, in this timeline, on Thanos' green earth, that I would be able to make that trip through that window and expect to come out alive. There's no way. There's no way. There is literally no way I could do half of the stuff that I saw happen today. And I think I want to play a little bit of that video. It's a long video, so bear with it. I think it's interesting. I think it's important to share. I'm sure people have been tuned in to all of the stuff that they've seen throughout the day. Again, trigger warnings. If you're tired of seeing this stuff, I'll give you a second to step away from the stream. But I'm going to play this video. It was a fantastic video, actually, that showcased some of the stuff. And I want to talk about some of the parts in it because it is wild to understand the mentality behind it. And I want to talk about that right after we show this video.
For 4 years, we have witnessed turmoil in America, but nothing quite like this. The pro-Trump crowd fought with the police, trying to break through their lines, intoxicated by the unlikely prospect of reversing America's election outcome. We watched as the standoff continued for at least an hour. Tear gas canisters were fired from the very stage on which Joe Biden will be inaugurated. But for Capitol Hill police officers, this was a losing battle.
This is exactly what was feared, but in no way is this a surprise. It has been fueled by the president's rhetoric, and it's increasingly clear this election has not healed the wounds. It has simply amplified them.
We followed the aggrieved and infuriated Trump supporters as they stormed the building.
I swear to CNN, and they just said these guys.
Through broken windows and doors they had forced open. And for a few heady moments they felt they had won a precious victory. They were now in the very heart of the congressional building.
What's the purpose of storming Congress itself?
Because they work for us. They don't get to steal it from us. They don't get to tell us we didn't see what we saw.
We respect the law. We were good people. The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us. We want our country back. We are protesting for our freedom right now. That's the difference.
What's the purpose of storming Congress?
How do I know that?
They reached and entered the Speaker's office itself, although Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers had already been evacuated to safety.
There you go. There you go, brother.
As we filmed, protesters tore down Pelosi's nameplate.
And so here we are right now inside the halls of Congress. This is exactly what so many anticipated, and yet the Capitol Hill police are doing their best, but failing to control the situation.
We all know that they changed the rules mid-game, and they're not being held accountable, and that's a shame.
What's your message to the Capitol Hill police and to lawmakers here?
This is our country. This is our house. That's it. This is our house. This is our country. This is our country.
Inside the chamber itself, there was chaos. Agents hastily blocking the doors with furniture to keep the protesters out. Officers ready to open fire as a last resort. In the galleries, people took shelter. The great constitutional showdown in Congress had to be suspended.
Madam Speaker and members of Congress, pursuant to the Constitution and the laws of the United States.
A little earlier, the passions and America's political schism were on display as Trump loyalists acted to stop the certification.
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
But I would urge to both sides perhaps a bit less certitude and a bit more recognition that we are gathered at a time when democracy is in crisis.
But the plea to suspend certification of the election was fiercely contested by the leader of the Senate, who broke definitively with Trump.
If this election were overturned by mere allegations from the losing side, our democracy would enter a death spiral. We'd never see the whole nation accept an election again.
100 miles away in Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden pleaded for the intervention of the one man who could halt this.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now to fulfill his oath and defend the Constitution and demand an end to this siege, to storm the Capitol, to smash windows, to occupy offices, the floor of the United States Senate, rummaging through desks, on the Capitol, on the House of Representatives, threatening the safety of duly elected officials. It's not protest, it's insurrection.
So there's a couple of things in there, and thank you everybody for sitting through that. It's a little bit of a long video. I think the things that come to me when I think about what that conversation entailed, right? First of all, the woman who is in the beginning of the video walking through trespassing into the Capitol building saying our house. Think about that for a moment. Sit with that for a second. Think about what that means. That this building that government holds holds court, the place where all those things that hopefully will, manifest themselves through democracy and through governance and through reasonable discussion and all those things. That woman walked through that door trespassing while talking about that's our house. If that ain't the most white privilege shit I ain't seen in a long time, that has to cut that takes many cakes. That takes a lot of cakes. And the fact, again, I always do this where I put myself in the position of whomever those folks may be, and I can't do it. There's no way. I've never, the fact that those folks have stormed and terrorized people. There were people in their desk, like under their desk. Everyone had to sit in place. Everyone had to change everything that they were doing when they were having the count for the electoral votes today. That is terrorism. That is blatant terrorism. That is blatantly trying to put fear into our elected officials. There was a picture of a dude in there who had zip ties. He was not with the police. What were you doing with zip ties unless you were trying to kidnap somebody in Congress? There's no other reason. What other reason is there besides randomly just having zip ties? What kind of freaky shit is that? What kind of Dateline NBC shit is this? You just randomly got zip ties in the back of your car. Like you just, I just got duct tape and condoms. Like, no. Some wild shit. Right? Then you have the cat who's like, we were normal people before this happened. Think about that now. We were turned into these people because of the way the government did us wrong. Think about that in comparison to all the protesting that we have done over the past 5 years and how the juxtaposition is there in the way that stuff gets framed in people's minds. I don't think if you ever rolled up on anybody who has been in a Black Lives Matter protest and was like, this is the thing that turned us into revolutionaries and into protesters and into people who give a shit about my own life. There is a difference between how and why people are actually oppressed versus the people who think they are oppressed. There's a lot of racism that happens in this world that has not turned all of us into the things that that people think we should be, or the people think that they think that we are. If that was, America would have been burnt down decades ago. There'd be nothing left here if we were exactly who they thought we were and exacted what we thought would be justice that would be rightfully displayed against the society and a government and a people who continuously do everything in their power to subjugate us for no other reason besides a mental sickness. Because that's what I think racism is. There is no real reason for racism to exist. It is a thing where people magically think about how you are an evil soul and then apply that to other stuff that winds up being the foundation for what we see here in America. That's what we see. That's what we go through every day. So the idea that all of those things are theirs, this capital is mine, this government is mine, this country is mine, that shit is all just white supremacy. That woman who died today, blame Trump, blame white supremacy for her death. The people storming the Capitol with not a goddamn mask in sight, knowing we're still in COVID and still in a place while we have a whole bunch of people who are fighting that as well. What is happening right now? It is a wild time. It is not surprising. It is not, there aren't any revelations to be found. All the dumbasses are just re-signing up to be dumbasses. They're just doing it to be really loud and proud dumbasses. So there's a lot of conversations to be had now in terms of, one, what the conversation is going to look like from a government kind of working perspective. We have 14 more days until the inauguration, where Biden and Harris will take over control of the country. We also have the pandemic, which has still been mismanaged by the U.S. government, because now we have doses that are just expiring randomly because they didn't do the due diligence of putting them in good places to be able to be used properly. So you have failure on the Capitol Police. You have failure on the DC Police, because it's not like we didn't understand that this was not going to happen. The fact that they didn't plan better for this is astounding. And that's the only surprising thing that I find today, is that they didn't do more. They sat in their hands. They let them in past the gates to go into the Capitol. What the hell did you expect to happen? People were just going to go in there and sing Kumbaya and sing some 10 Nugent songs? That ain't what's going to happen, fam. That's not it. These folks are hell-bent on anarchy. These folks are hell-bent on trying to take whatever the supposed country that they had back for them. There is no, why did this happen in a bigger way? Paris in the chat says it wasn't planned better because that was a part of the plan. I'm not surprised by that, and that's probably spot on. First right thing Paris has said in the past 5 years. Haha. But I will say, again, if you're rolling up into this conversation being surprised, you shouldn't be. Black people ain't been surprised by nothing we've seen here. None of this is new. None of this stuff is stuff that we didn't see coming. None of this stuff is stuff that you should be up in arms about, because, again, this is going to pass sometime. The part that we'll see pass is the part where the government is still doing super wild shit for no reason. That's not true. They're going to do super wild shit for no reason anyway. It'll be more covert super wild shit that they do. It'll be more reasonable super wild shit if there is a reason that you can even say those words together. But in terms of what Trump is going to do before he leaves, we don't know. We got 14 days. We got 2 weeks to see how much more nonsensical, unreasonable stuff happens in this space. Twitter finally magically shut down his account for 12 hours. That's dumb. People are calling for him to get impeached again. That's also stupid. They need to just take him out and arrest him. That's all that needs to happen at this point. There is no more giving of chances. There's no more trying to figure out good ways to balance this out in another way besides, you just need to snatch homie up and just take him the hell out. Do it at 12 noon on national TV like you do everybody else. Take him out. Put him in jail. He's done more harm than he's ever done good. And now we're just seeing the fruits of that non-labor. So I would say for everybody who's at home, who's listening to the podcast, again, this is a thing that we we're all working through our energies right now. Like, again, you know, this is going to be a weird couple of years. I was talking about this today on Twitter as well, of a thing that we as progressives have to figure out is we're not going to get to a place of perfect. Place of perfect doesn't exist. We all know this in all the fullest ways. Those things just don't happen. But I do think that there is a space now, because we do have the Senate. Thank you, Stacey Abrams, Sister Latasha, I forgot her last name, Nse Ufat, who we had on the show from New Georgia Project. Massive shout out to all the people who did all the work in Georgia. Georgia flipping blue is monumental. Shout out to Chef Lou Boo, who was on the show a little bit earlier this week. Check out that conversation that happened right before the election night. But again, it's a wild day. They had the results come in. Everyone is out. It has been, the races have been called. Democrats have taken over the Senate. They will take over the Senate when Kamala Harris gives the final vote on the 22nd, I think, or the 20th or 22nd. And then we'll have the Senate, the House, and the presidency. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in the next 4 years. I know there are already conversations about how Biden and Harris are going to be super conservative and centrist in a lot of those ways. I was saying earlier today, I think that the only way that we really kind of make this thing happen is they may need a second term. And that's wild to say, even though they haven't gotten through their first term, to be able to actually do stuff in the ways that progressives want them to do. What that means is that we have to try to figure out ways to work with each other in better and smarter ways. The thing that the GOP, the ultra right, and the Proud Boys and all these other folks have been talking about, it is the foundation of how they stick together, which is sad but powerful in the fact that it works. If you've seen all the people, again, in that video who were storming the Capitol today, talking all this wild stuff and all this stuff that was all over the place, and none of it actually makes sense because it doesn't live in the reality that we all live in, it's because, sadly, they are sheep, but they are sheep with votes. I'm not saying that we have to become sheep with votes. I'm saying that there are always going to be spots where there are going to be disagreements, and we're going to have to get over some of those disagreements and stop stabbing each other in the back. It's the only way we're going to get shit done. The only way we're going to get things done in this country. From a progressive standpoint, the blessing and the curse of the Progressive Party is that we all have gripes to bear. But the problem is, when you're walking through one door with those gripes and one person is going through at a time, sometimes the people behind you have shot those gripes and they wind up in your back. The GOP doesn't do that. They do that at the end. You see it now happening, where all the folks who are now in the streets with those MAGA hats have been talking about, yo, let's hang Mike Pence. Let's do some harm to these people who are in these places. Oh, let's wreck all these GOP folks. There were 2 IEDs at the both DNC and RNC today. Two explosive devices that these people have put into these citizens and terrorists, domestic terrorists, put into these places. It's not going to get better before it gets worse. We can all understand that and be honest about that. I think we should. We need to. For the sake of ourselves and the sake of the country, we need to. But we also have to try to figure out better ways to work with each other, even when we don't align fully. It's the only way we're going to be able to get through this in a better way. It's the only way we're going to be able to get back to normal. And we got to cut bait. We got to cut bait with a lot of these people who are in these places. All these people who are like not wearing a mask, who have decided that they just want to die early and want to take us with us. Nah, we got to figure that out. There's no way. We can't do it because it's not going to work. We're going to be in our houses to 2027 if that's the case, because people can't get their shit together. So my message to all of you, and again, thank you all for listening to that long rant, is there are spaces right now where we can do some good. There are spaces where we can try to figure out good ways to build alliances and to continue to use platforms that we have to do some of that stuff. An interesting thing that I saw today with so many of our fellow brothers and sisters in the streaming spaces and content creation spaces didn't have anything to say about this. I found that to be really interesting. There were a lot of people playing Among Us 3 months ago with some people. I ain't see a peep out of none of them today. I didn't. Maybe there are some that did. I didn't see it. We have fought on this show, the Spawn of Me motherfucking podcast with Kahlief Adams, to do that work for the past 8 years. You have never seen in our chat, you have never seen me say on our channel, in the rules that pop up on our channel for the first time that people come to the channel, you have never seen don't talk about politics on this platform. You have never heard me say that in this chat. You've never heard me say that on this channel, because that defeats the purpose of what these platforms are for. Twitch is a dope place that you can do dope work like that. And I'm annoyed that we're not a part of those conversations. Infinitely annoyed at that. 2021 is going to be different. We're going to figure that out. I'm going to figure that out. Because all of you at home, listening in audio form, listening here in podcast form, in Twitch form, I know you care. We have these conversations in the ether, on the internet, on Twitter, in social media spaces. I know you care, and you deserve to have those folks have a forum here with us where we know what we're talking about. So I want that to be a thing that we think about in 2021. It's a thing I'm thinking about in a big way. I want folks like Joy Reid on the show. I want to talk to people like AOC. I want to have people come on the show like Nsa Ufat come back on the show and talk about the magic that they put together with their ground game that helped bring home Georgia for all of us. I think there are lots of places that we can help to move that conversation forward. And I'm going to need your help to do that. I'm going to need you to signal boost that conversation out and be like, yo, Kai knows what he's doing. He's not going to be here playing Among Us with you. Or if he is, he's going to be asking you some real questions about it while he's trying to run away from you and vent. Like, that's the real deal. I'm down to do the game parts. The game parts are important. We need to do that because that's what Twitch does. But again, we can have smart, fun conversations here in a real way that actually does some good and actually makes the space a little bit better. I want to do that here. TD talking about Kai being real sus, but got to do the work in Brookago. I see you. That's not funny at all. Damn it. Anyway. So one last thing before we get up out of here. There was an interesting thing from our friend, and not friend of the show right now, Gutex, who was, wrote some magical nonsense thing that happened about the whole protest today and talked about the martyrdom of that woman in the space and all those things. And it was really interesting to see the reaction to that from folks in the gaming industry and folks in the gaming space. He is the face of the PogChamp emote on Twitch. And I was a big Gutex fan because I grew up on a lot of his content. He's a mainstay in the fighting game community. But he has definitely gone off the deep end in a lot of different ways. The funny part about that is, and I'm hearing this in chat now, is that I put out a funny tweet that basically was like, can we swap out Gutex for me? His emote, the face of him as that emote for my emote. And now folks in the chat are saying that the emote is gone. Good job, Twitch. I appreciate that. I rocks with that. That's pretty dope. I am very happy that they are moving quickly and swiftly in getting some of that stuff done in a way that makes sense and also shows that they're paying attention and have an ear to the street in a good way. So that makes me happy. Also, I still want Twitch to use my face as the emote of PogChamp. I think that would be dope. Mine is better anyway. My emote is better. I'm cuter. My skin is prettier. I use cocoa butter. My head is shaved. I look like somebody from Onyx. It's better. It's just better. I'm just saying. Just do it, Twitch. You got my number. Ka for Pog. Right. Ka for PogChamp is so much better. I'm just saying. But we're gonna get up out of here. A couple of things that I think are important. Thank you for everyone who has been sharing. Let's see if this works in the chat. Maybe it didn't. Designs. I'll be dropping the theme music tomorrow. I'll do that a little bit later. But in terms of the things that we're going to be doing soon, announcement next week about our sponsor. We have a returning champion in terms of our sponsor, so I'm excited about that kind of stuff. AKA has been doing really, really well. The Ask Ka Anything shows have been doing really, really well. I would love for more people again to rock with me in that space. I think it is really, really fantastic. I think that the ways that we're having those conversations have been really great. TD, can you drop that that link in the chat, please? Oh, there it goes. I see it. Nightbot did it. So that's the thing I want to continue to build out. And I think we're doing a good job with that. Again, please let me know, the visuals on the stream are still whip. They're still work in progress. I think right now we're in a pretty decent spot. And we're trying to figure out ways to build out a couple of cool things in there that I think are going to be important. Maybe stuff like this. Like stuff like that. The Spawn of Me Brookago sub train that I should have did earlier in the show, but didn't do. Those kinds of things are going to be in the space once I get those things working together and super dope. So again, thank you for coming through tonight. This was a offshoot of a show because of the world kind of turning itself on fire today. But please remember to continue to support us on Twitter. We're trying to get up to 20K this year. We surpassed 10K. Thank you to everyone who voted over at PlayStation Lifestyle as well, voting me as Industry Person of the Year. Massive love to them for that. That's a great honor. And blew my mind that was the thing that wound up happening. The work I'm doing over at Intel, that stuff is still doing some good work there. You expect to see some more content creators be announced in the next couple of days around that activation. So there are lots of cool things that are going to be happening here in Spawn on Me Land that I hope to be able to build out with you. And last shout out to our friends over at Kinda Funny. Massive shout out to the fam Paris for joining XCast. Massive love to the fam Snowback Mike and Roger Porkney for joining full time over at Kinda Funny. Massive love to them for continuing to inspire me in the work that we're doing here. This studio stuff honestly wouldn't have been a thing without Kinda Funny doing what they did when they did their big rebrand too. Like, I think I'm always looking for ways to be inspired, and the grind that they have and the work that they do as a team now, a team of 11, is a huge inspiration for me to continue to try to build this thing out into something bigger and better than what it was even a year prior. So thank you to everyone for hanging out in the chat. Hang out a little bit for the post show. We're just going to be doing some chatting after that. But for everybody else listening here in podcast land, thank you again. Much love to you all. Stay safe out there. Wash your hands, wash your butt, and make sure you are rocking and doing your thing in a safe, COVID safe way. And making sure that, you're out here kind of just making sure you're okay and good. Cause right now it's a little bit rough out here. So we want you to be in good spaces and in good places. So much love to you all. Until next week, we say peace.